Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
And again, it's a special 1 hour Newsmaker Show this morning, starting out with Steuben County Democratic Chairman Sean Hogan. And we'll have Assemblyman Phil Pompasano on for the Republicans in the second segment, as we're so close to the elections. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Brian. Nice to be with you.
Well, Sean, let's talk about the candidates. So what race would you like to start out with?
Before we start talking politics in general, Brian, I'd like to just say a few words about the political climate in this country today. I am personally appalled and saddened by the tenor of the political discourse in this country. And it was heightened yesterday or the day before when I saw a post on the Tribune Facebook page from someone in the Canisteo Valley calling for the death of all Democratic politicians. I reached out to the Tribune and I indicated that that was pretty close to a terroristic threat, and the post was removed. But that's coming right here locally, several days after the Pittsburgh massacre, and less than a week after the pipe bombs being sent to the politicians, Democratic politicians all over the country.
No excuse for talk like that. I'm sure the Tribune was unaware of it.
There is no excuse for talk like that, but that's unfortunately what the political discourse has come to. You know, I fully understand and I'm aware of the differing ideologies, and people have differing opinions on whether it's gun control or abortion or immigration or education and student loans. But to see that posted on on our local Facebook page by a local resident is totally disheartening and frankly a little bit scary. So the post has been removed, but the discourse is still made. I don't have Facebook and I'll never have Facebook, but the discourse and the things people can get away, they think they can get away with saying without thinking, is just horrendous. Now, just last evening, I spent an hour in meditation in our local chapel and thinking about this. And it's got to change. This is not the America that I grew up in. In fact, on Veterans Day coming up in a little over a week, there is a monument to the veterans of all the wars. But the one that's most poignant to me is all those 77 lives that were lost by Hornell residents that were lost in World War II, fighting fascism, fighting nationalism, and giving their lives for the democratic way of life and for free speech and defending the right of people's ability for free speech. And when I walk by that monument and on Broadway and I see those 77 lives that were lost so young, some taken right out of high school, some didn't finish high school and went into the service, go read the names sometime. Go read about those local heroes, whether it be Long or Congelli or Kelly. So many local people that lost their lives in the prime of their lives, never even got their lives started, to fight against fascism and racism and bigotry. And to see what this world has come to today, this nation has come to today, it's appalling. And I pray each day very hard that the tenor of politics changes and that we can get back to working together in a bipartisan fashion and agreeing that there's going to be differing opinions, but work to solve the problems that face America today. So I'm ready to talk politics now, but I'm just, I think that people, I'm ashamed that it's come to this in this country.
I was unaware of that, and I was unaware of that Facebook posting. That's shocking that someone said that. Not surprising that Jason Jordan and the Tribune guys would have taken that down right away. They're probably unaware of it.
Well, it's gone. It's
gone.
Yeah. But it's not the Tribune's fault.
No. When something gets up on a Facebook post, it's not like going through the Tribune site. They would be unaware.
It's just that someone would have the audacity to say
something like that.
Say something like that after what we've been through in this country, and so it's disheartening. But I pray in each and every day that the better angels among us prevail, and that this nation once again comes together to work for the betterment of all people.
Now getting to the candidates, let's start out with the assembly race for the Arrigo seat, Barbara Baer, Marjorie Burns race.
Right, that is an open seat. You have Joe Arrigo, who lost the Republican primary and was was indicted by the U.S. attorney for accepting a bribe. So he's suspended his campaign on the Independence and Reform Party lines. So that leaves Marjorie Burns, the Republican candidate, on the Republican ticket and the conservative line. Then you have the second-time candidate, Barbara Baer, who is a Democrat, who was running on the Democratic line, working families line, and I think women's equality line. So there is a choice there. They both have records of public service. One as a judge in the city courts of Rochester, and one as a state official. One that has a tremendous background in social services and especially in nursing homes. Barbara Baer is very articulate, and she's a candidate that I'm supporting as a Democrat. Not because she's basically a Democrat, but basically I think she's the most qualified, and she's run for this seat once before and came, within 10 points of beating the incumbent Joe Arrigo. So that race there, I think, is a toss-up. It covers a small part of Steuben County, which is the city of Hornell, town of Hornellsville, town of Dansville, Prattsburg, Wayland, and Cohocton. That's the only part of Steuben County that's in the 133. It includes all of Livingston County, and it includes Pittsford, Mendon, Rush, and Wheatfield in Monroe County. So they have the largest share of the voters, and I think that race is a toss-up. I think that because there's political discord between the Republicans in Livingston County and Monroe County, I think there's a great opportunity here for Barbara Baer.
The O'Mara-Kirschgissner race.
I think that's a slam dunk. I think Tom O'Mara is going to win that race as a Republican. Tom is a moderate Republican. He's well known. Amanda Kirschgissner, a nice person, but had little experience, and then she had a little bit of snafu in her personal life. So I believe that Tom O'Mara will walk away with that race.
Then we have the Tracy Matrano, Congressman Tom Reed race.
Now that's one that's going to be right down to the wire. I think this is probably the closest race that we've had, since Randy Kuhl lost to the Democratic candidate, a number of years ago. Matrano has run a very great, visible campaign, very aggressive. And I've said this before, I've never seen the activism and volunteerism on the part of so many in so many counties for a particular candidate. I mean, it's strong. There's been the phone polling. There's been canvassing, lit drops, get out the vote, GOTV or get out the vote efforts. And I think Tracy's message resonates with a lot of people. She has run a very, I think, clean and issue-oriented campaign. And Tom has been a very vocal supporter of our current president. He's not come out forcefully against the tariffs, which are killing our farmers. It's killing manufacturing. There was an article in the paper recently where Tom is visiting a air preheater in Wellsville, and the officials of the company there say that tariffs are hurting them, and really hurting their ability to provide affordable goods and be competitive in the market. And you're hearing that all over. It's hurting manufacturing exponentially throughout the nation, particularly a lot of large farmers, dairy farmers, crop farmers, soybean farmers. The tariffs were a bad idea. No one is forcefully going after the president and saying this is bad. And it's really hurting. And I think that hurts Tom. Another thing that hurts Tom, I think, is that his votes against health care. Who ever would have thought that health care would be a major issue when people want affordable health care? After the 2010 general elections, where there was a red wave and the Democrats lost control of Congress. But all the votes to weaken the Affordable Care Act have definitely hurt the insurance industry and the health care for people and raise premiums. We need to come together in a bipartisan fashion to craft a health care proposal or plan that's going to be affordable and beneficial to all. Another thing that Tom supported were the tax cuts. You hear about you don't hear the Republicans talking much about the tax cuts because it didn't positively affect the working class. And they said how the corporations were going to do this and that with it. Well, all the studies I've read is that the corporations have taken the money and bought back stock options and not passed it down in higher wages or not passed it back to the company to expand production. They've just taken the money and run. So those are some of the issues that people have to be thinking about when they go to the ballot box. So I think it's going to be a tough race. I think Tom has his supporters. Obviously, it's a majority Republican area. I think the Republicans outnumber Democrats by 50,000 votes in the district. But what I really think is that the independent voters, those registered or unaffiliated voters, are going to come out strong for Tracy Matrano.
Did you catch the debate the other night with Matrano and Reed on WTN?
I did not. I caught excerpts on the news. I was at a dinner with the medical staff at St. James, and so I didn't, but I did catch it. Some excerpts on the TV, and I also noticed that the viewer poll conducted by WETM after the debate by far shows that Tracy Matrano won the debate by 71% of those that called in. That's not a scientific poll, obviously, but it really shows that those who were watching certainly supported Tracy Matrano.
This morning on the Wellsville Regional News page, Lee Marcus has an editorial criticizing Congressman Tom Reed. It's kind of a long editorial, but one of the things that Lee Marcus says is that, I'll read it off here. The ad, and she's talking about a Reed political ad. The ad ends with images of a computer monitor on which Matrano's face appears being thrown through a second-story window, then smashed by someone wielding a keyboard, and a hammer is thrown on it for good measure. I haven't seen that ad.
Yeah, well, I think there's been a lot of ads, and there's because the race is so close, you're seeing many replays of the same ad. That's it. I think that's the tact of the National Republican Party. It's an ad of fear, an ad of division, because they can't talk about anything that they've done positive for the people. The tax cuts were a failure. The tariffs are a failure. They're trying to destroy health care for people, and now they want to foment fear and anger and distrust instead of bringing the country together. I think that's what she's referring to.
Moving on to another big race, the Cuomo-Molinaro governor's race. We had it in the news this morning that Mark Molinaro came out for strengthening New York's abortion laws by backing up or codifying the Roe v. Wade laws for New York State in order to prevent women from being... and I have to say, I don't think Trump would do this, but in order to prevent women from being arrested if they had abortions when it was legal.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a sign of Molinaro trying to distance himself from the alt-right or the right wing of his party and trying to become more progressive as a progressive candidate. A person that was very successful in doing that and had 3 terms as governor was Governor Pataki, a Republican governor that I, as a Democratic mayor, supported in one of his efforts for re-election. It's I think that's an effort to try to distance himself from some of the rhetoric and the political rhetoric of the right, and that's going on out there during this silly season. You've seen. I don't have to talk to people. If you watch any kind of TV, you can see the ads. You can see the ridiculousness of the ads and trying to foment fear and mistrust. I certainly would no matter what the party was, I certainly would be more impressed with an ad that was truthful and an ad that addressed the needs of the people, whether it be the high cost of student loans, the high cost of health insurance, the tariffs on the farmers. I haven't heard too much talk about the impact of on the dairy industry locally. I mean, milk prices are in the tank, and they can barely pay their bills because they're not getting a good price for their milk. Let's talk about those issues. And it's unfortunate that politics has come to this. And like I say, I have a lot of Republican friends. I've worked on both sides of the aisle all my life, and I've never ever seen anything like this. Like I say, it's heartbreaking. And I hope Tuesday comes, the election ends, and we move on as a nation. But I'll tell you, there's some deep wounds. There has been a scab taken off a latent racism and bigotry in this country. That we have to heal that wound. We have to put it back in the shadows where it belongs. This white supremacy and bigotry and racist and nationalist talk has no business in America.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Sean Hogan, Steuben County Democrat Chairman. We'll talk about the Kirsten Gillibrand Farley race. Stay with us.
What should you do if you're sick, but your doctor's office is closed, or you don't have a primary care provider? Choose St. James Hospital's Express Care. Express Care is conveniently located at 20 Elm Street in Hornell. We're open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and you never need an appointment. Just stop in when you need us. Express Care, compassionate care, quality care. Open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. From UR Medicine, St. James Hospital.
We're back with Sean Hogan, Steuben County Democratic Chairman. Can we talk Kirsten Gillibrand, Shelley Farley?
Yeah, I think Kirsten Gillibrand is going to win hands down. Her opponent has not been very visible upstate. I think it's a token opposition. I think that Kirsten Gillibrand has been a good senator. She's been tremendous on women's issues. And, I think she'll be reelected overwhelmingly.
Yes, I don't even know how to pronounce Farley's first name, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten one email. No. Not to complain. I'm sure she's campaigning, but okay, down to the last couple of minutes. Was there anything I did not bring up that you wanted to?
Well, yeah, I think, I just wanted to touch on Governor Cuomo. I think, and we know that he's not popular upstate New York for one reason. That's the SAFE Act. The SAFE Act, I think was, it probably could be improved as legislation, but I support it in the fact of, in the shadows of, all the school shootings and mass shootings. I think the governor's done the right thing. I don't think there's a need for automatic weapons to be wholesalely owned. I support background checks. I support people owning their weapons. I don't know if I'm for an overall registry, but I do believe that the governor has had some great legislative victories in this New York State. But most importantly, for the people locally, without the governor's support, without his personal involvement, we would not have a new hospital being built here. We would not have a medical village set for a grand opening at the end of November. The governor, say what you want about the governor, but he has turned the economy around upstate New York. We wouldn't have Alstom without the governor's involvement. So let's give credit where credit's due. The governor has been exemplary for upstate New York, particularly Hornell and the Hornell region.
We've been talking with Steuben County Democrat Chairman Sean Hogan. I was just recently corrected. Don't say Democrat Chairman, say Democratic Chairman. I was.
That's all right. That's not. I don't worry about what
you weren't the one that corrected me.
If I worried about what people called me, Brian, I would have gotten out of this business years ago.
We have Assemblyman Phil Papasato to come on for the Republicans next. Stay with us. Thanks for coming in, Sean.
You're welcome.